Hello, everyone. Thank you very much, dear John, for inviting me to such an important event and all the purchase organizers and executives. Honored to see their colleagues from related specialties who are serving and taking care about people from the bottom of their hearts. So my presentation is aimed to answer the question, what is psychotherapy and counseling of humanitarian setting? And I would like to highlight exactly some main pillars of the latest ones. Those statements are based on my individual experience as a therapist and also on the activities of the NGO Ukrainian Psychology Center The Soul before the war started in Ukraine and through the last almost 2 years. Few words about me. I have been working as a therapist since 2011, initially with children with autism and their families, and then in regular Ukrainian primary and middle school classes. Then conducted private practice and group therapy work with people during the peaceful time. With my colleagues from Kiev, we created the Psychology Center The Soul just 1 year before war started. We held various events aimed to raise psychological awareness and establish the key role of mental health in general people well-being. When the war started, we reorganized into an NGO and launched the Crisis Center, providing urgent psychological help for those who needed it, and continuing to do it until now. The definition of humanitarian setting includes events which caused the critical threat of health, safety, security, and well-being of the community and large group of people. That is the definition according to the Interagency Working Group of Reproductive Health and Crisis 2010. If we take a quick look on the map of the whole world right now, we can sigh and become short of breath, starting to get consciousness about the fact that now the bigger part of the world is involved in the humanitarian crisis. That is why the world feels so heavy today, literally. And this is not something new. According to the data of Hungarian political scientist István Kende, through 1945-1986, there were only 26 days without war. Another historical investigation said that this is if you sum up the duration of all the wars in the earth, then the period of time for 6,000 years of civilization when there was no war equaled only 3 months. According to the country where I am from, this humanitarian crisis is unfortunately well known also. For the past couple of centuries, Ukraine was divided between different countries, and the previous 100 years was under Soviet Union occupation, faced artificial famine during Stalin's regime, and finally became independent, and from this time going on to struggle for its right to at least be alive. Just feel at the beginning of 90s, our population was 52 million people. Right now, within the country borders, there are barely 26 million. Forcibly moved abroad approximately 8 million people. Inside the country, people who had lost their homes and needed to change their place of living are almost 7 million. Those who are in the country now face everyday threats, mortal threat. Every day could be your last. Right now, that is the 700th day of full-scale war. Remind you that it started much earlier in 2014 from the Crimea Peninsula annexation. Here on the slide, you can see some key facts according to the internal situation of the country. And I accompany it by the words of Ukrainian medicine practitioner Natalia Nikolaeva, who somehow remade the famous words of Viktor Frankl and says, "The first ones who've been broken are frightened by the dark. They were followed by those who lost their light." So first we'll start at, so the first main important statement of the psychotherapy and counseling in the times of humanitarian crisis is how to keep on going this light by oneself, the caring practitioners, and help to do the same for people. First, we'll start at least to try to answer this question. Just try, because I believe that is not true and unchangeable. It's completely vivid and dynamic process of constant losing and finding of those answers, attempts to find them. We should look at this scarce mapping of those psychological struggles people have right now. And those are two of segments. They are different for those who are currently in Ukraine and those who are outside the country. But somewhere in the deep, in center, the suffering is the same. Complete apathy, lack of energy and resources, dead-end feeling, calmness in making decisions. All those might be hidden in extra high chaotic activity just not to stay alone with the painful feelings, which are unprocessed losses of themselves, homes, beloved ones, past lives. There is also suppressed anger, identity loss, absence of future and hope. I'm adding to this list every day while I'm working with people. And of course, we can feel enormously this huge change in counseling and psychotherapy settings meanwhile. Peaceful times and during the situation of mortal threat every day. Before it seemed to us that we had all the time of being, now every minute is priceless. So it changes the approach. More and more people need immediate relief instead of long time reflections. And if we concentrate more before on growth and development, now our focus of attention is on survival mode and the attempts to preserve at least the life and energy sources, which are constantly in the background of anxiety and depression. During the last half of year, we conducted a series of therapeutic online groups, events, and open on-air meetings dedicated to this ability of keeping the light. I name the light here like the ability to continue striving for life again and again. Nevertheless, it's happening in this life. And in our therapeutic activities, we were following this four-quadrant model conception developed by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. It includes body, soul, mind, and heart components. And the pillars which I'm starting to present you right now belong to each one of them. The first one, pillar of psychotherapy and counseling through the humanitarian crisis times, touches upon the mind component of the quadrant model and assumes the reality principle. It's about facing and naming the reality which happens right here and now, naming what happens with the true words, not hiding from the reality. We conducted the therapy groups with the circles of sharing where people keep on retelling what had happened to them. The main principle of those meetings was the famous quote of Jung: I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become. Then we are moving to body component quadrant. It includes that every therapy meeting with the person in the humanitarian settings must include the body work. Our aim is to return the person into their own bodies, because in the moments of critical threat, we all know this feeling when it seems that the soul flies away from the body. The most favorite techniques are breathing ones, standard to concentrate only on the process of breathing. The dynamic moves, the favorite of the children is wet puppy when you are shivering intentionally with all of your body. And supportive moves such as hugs, for example, yoga and physical training, running, jogging, power exercises also improve their effectiveness. Third pillar touches again with the mind component and the sense that we intentionally preoccupy our mind not with overthinking and prediction of various catastrophes, but with the differentiation. We were working with people on this awareness of what depends on them and what is not, pointing their efforts on everyday small attempts of living to clean the house, make the bed, prepare some food, take the bus if possible, help those people who are more in need than they are. All this returns the power into people's hands, which is constantly grabbed from them. Fourth, and maybe the most favorite for me pillar, touches on the power of heart. It's about our emotional connections and the sense of belonging. When we gather into groups, speak to each other, share our bads and goods, and sing songs, we become more resilient and strong. Here is the video of the song we were singing with the children, the Ukrainian one. For the lack of time, you can see it then in the presentation. And speaking of songs occurred while making this list of pillars unexpectedly important, and it touches on the very important spiritual component of the Elizabeth Kubler-Ross quadrant model. This is about roots and belonging to these roots, and it can be very important to the every nation that is facing the humanitarian crisis. It appeared very effective in the process of taking care and healing constantly to provide people with key historical facts, authentic culture such as folklore music, paintings, art, cinema, and poetry. People started to feel themselves very deeply supported by the power of all those ancestors who lived before and created this culture. This all in complex gives the people the feeling of something bigger than they are, and accordingly more powerful, but not victimized as it feels under constant threat and terror. And here are some examples of the pieces of art we are constantly sharing and discussing with people. You can concentrate on your feelings right now and just let them make their healing work upon you. Just few examples. Our Ukrainian paintings and pieces of art. We are constantly showing and discuss it with people and bring it them more powerful. And this is Ukrainian song which I do sure that every one of you knows some notes.
Щедрик, щедрик, щедрівочка, прилетіла ластівочка, стала собі щебетати, Ісус поляви. Щебетимося, подивися, там пожежу, там овечки покотилися, ягнички народились, тебе товар весь хороший, будеш мати мірку грошей, тебе товар весь хороший, будеш мати мірку грошей.
I will make a pause here. You can listen it also. And in the sixth pillar touches, I guess, both the spiritual and emotional components, stand upon the crucial role in healing and supporting the life process of grief and bereavement. This is an example of how we can go through those unbearable hard feelings by means and help of pieces of art again. Trauma-informed therapy asserts that we can't touch painful issues directly, but only through the safe lenses. Films, cartoons, paintings, poetry could be those helpful facilitators during the process. You can also see this cartoon then in presentation. And the last, but maybe we should put it even first to this list, is the pillar which combines all the components of quadrant, is the pillar of mutual help and support. The only way to keep on light and continue to stay on the side of life is what you are seeing here. one of the most suffering countries and nations in the world, the Israeli psychological specialists say that uh, people who, from the first moments of the hard times, were involved in helping and taking care for others, show the less symptoms of trauma and post-traumatic disorders. So it's impossible to live further and cope without this waving basket of such communities as ours, as Paul Chase, such meetings that are happening right now. And it makes a big impact in the matter of building the counterweight to everything that is going on right now in the world. So thank you for the very bottom of my heart. And thank you for your attention. And here are some slides for our contact with our organization, with our programs that we provide, and our activities of our center. Thank you very much.